must most most online communities are loud, but very few actually impact. In 2026, community won't be a nice to have. It will be something that makes the difference between brands that grow and brands that disappear. In this live show, I will have Jim Fuhs, my good friend Jim Fuhs, to talk about Skool, a pretty awesome platform to create community. So you need to stay there in our last show in this year to understand how Skool and you can impact your community. Stay there because I'll be back. Hello, hello, everybody. This year went too fast. I think someone should slow down the years passing by. So, welcome to another episode of the Special Marketing Live Show. By the way, as usual, you have some nice links in the video description for my favorite tools like StreamYard, for instance, who makes this live show possible. By the way, the link and most of the links they are affiliates, which means I will get a small commission if you buy from there, but you won't pay more because of that. Even you have some good conditions in some of them. So today by the way, don't forget to share, of course, to subscribe to the channel, to do whatever, to share with your family, to put a like and activate the bell so you can get notifications every time I'll go live. I really appreciate that. So today it's time to talk about this nice platform. I think it's kind of pretty new, or at least she got some highlights lately. Skool, I like the name. As a teacher, I like the name. And I'm going to get Jim. I think he's kind of eating the last cookie, so I'm going to wait a little bit. So let me check if I can do this properly, because Jim Fuhs deserves a nice intro. So, ladies and gentlemen, from crossing the Atlantic, from Portugal right to the heart of America. Let me think. I think he's from Georgia. Let's have Jim Fuhs.
I love the music. That reminds me of so many movies, and even I think like Bugs Bunny. I think that was sometimes part of the cartoon. I think that's that.
I have that as well. I'm gonna play it, but the Bugs Bunny I'm gonna play by the end.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh! But it's always a pleasure to be here, and because I mean, see, people don't always understand this, right? But you do. Is you're in Portugal, and I am half Spanish, Peruvian. So I was going to say, was having Afro Horus.
Maybe one day we can make this in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because
yes, I definitely have been working on that.
Who don't know, I'm Portuguese. I think you can tell by my accent, even though my blonde hair and my blue eyes, they make me seem like Swedish or so. But the thing is, I'm Portuguese and I live pretty close from Spain. I live, I don't know, maybe not even 20 miles away from Spain. Okay, so a nice place called Galicia. It's kind of my second home. And yes, we can do a live show in Spanish. You need to remove the rust.
Yes, I've been practicing, so it's definitely getting better, but not ready for a full show. It would be probably a little bit of Spanglish.
Okay, I think that will work. So first of all, Jim, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you again here and to talk about this topic. I think this should be a nice platform for content creators and other people teachers, for instance. I think the name resonates a lot with teachers to take advantage in 2026. Time flies. We were I 27, 26 years ago, we were all afraid that the world will end.
Yeah, that's right.
What will happen in the year 2000?
Yes.
And we
It was
got
funny. I
to
was
here.
actually saying that to my wife yesterday. I was like, yeah, I remember. I was like, who would have thought we'd be starting 2026, because like you said, we all thought the world was going to end when we hit 2000 and we had Y2K and all that good stuff. And so some
Yeah,
people have no idea what we're talking about, but that's okay.
yep. So actually, and also we thought, I don't know, maybe probably this happened with you when we had the 80s, and well, mainly the 80s, when we were thinking how the 2000 will look, and all the flying cars and all those crazy towns, and the thing is not really.
Yeah, but we do sometimes talk into our watches, right? Remember the Jetsons?
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
so we got some of the stuff is headed that direction, and I don't know if you have them out there yet, but at least so here in Atlanta, they a company called Waymo, which I think is owned by Google, Alphabet, whatever they're called. Maybe Bending Spoons is going to buy it. I don't know. Um, some of you will get that context, but they have these Waymo cars. They're driverless cars that are driving around the city, and you can actually use Uber to catch a ride in them. So, yeah, technology just continues to advance, and I think one of the things I respect about you, Marco, and I think one of the reasons why we've been friends for as long as we have, and I can't remember. I don't think we've had a chance to meet in person yet. I
Not
think,
yet, yes, not yet,
yeah,
unfortunately.
but notice that's why I say yet, because we will, because I know one of us is going to cross that big pond of water at some point. Um,
Rowing.
yeah, even if it's rowing, right? But we have not been afraid to embrace the change of technology. And I think a lot of people, as they get older, they struggle with it, and so I think even what we're talking about today with community is so important. There's these online communities, and people get caught up in like, oh well, I have this Facebook group and I have thousands of people, but you don't really own that group. Facebook does, and it's created so many problems. I want to say, gosh, it might now be 2 years. I can't remember. I want to say it's been. I think it was February of last year. I don't think it was February of this year when they had started the whole thing where you couldn't live stream into Facebook groups. And it's just continued, right? They've done away with the ability to keep your lives up. And so there were a lot of community builders built their communities by going live in their groups using tools like StreamYard. And not that you still can't, but they've made it difficult. And then it's like,
Hmm.
why do it when it's going to be, taken down in 30 days unless you go through all this runaround to, bring it back in. And so as I've seen, and then of course, and I know we talked about Substack a few months ago, and it was funny because I was actually on my way to talk at Digital Wichita when we had the big, I'll call it the AI group takedown by Facebook, where overnight people lost their groups and then they came back up. But it was like people like, oh my gosh, what happens if I can't get my group back? Some cases, these people had tens of thousands of members. And I think part of it is like they didn't have their emails, right? So they had no way to recover them. So I think that's when I became aware of Skool with a K, which I always like to joke, yeah, it's Skool with a K. So I think it's kind of a neat way to do it. And so I first joined Madeline Scalar's Skool community, because Madeline, if you don't know her, folks that are watching or listening, was one of the I'll call it top Twitter people for many, many years, spoke at Social Media Marketing World on the topic and helped me grow my Twitter following, to, over 10,000 people and, before things changed there. But she started using Skool not only to build a community around AI and social media, and it's more become focused on AI tools as we still talk about social media, but also she has a community for she uses a product called Kratom for pain relief that but what she had run into is on other platforms because it's a controversial topic, it would get taken down. And so that's where I think, to your point, you need to have a community that you own. Just like I feel like, even though people say, oh, well, you don't own Substack, but Substack, like Skool, I get if you're part of my community, I get your email. So if, whatever, if the Skool people were to kick us off theoretically, or I can say, hey, here's where we're hanging out now. Here's where our community is going to reside. And there's a lot of different community tools out there, but I think I like how Skool is evolving. I like, to me, how easy it is to use. And I think sometimes, I'm not going to say, oh, well, this one's the best. I don't know what the best one is, but this one is the best for me. And I think for a lot of my, people that I consider friends like you as well, I would say, yeah, this is something you might want to consider. I would say what kept me away from it when it first came out is, in order to create a community, it was $99 a month. Well, now they have an option where you can do it at $9. But even with that, you get all the features. I think the biggest difference is you pay 10% off of people that you maybe charge for things, 2.9% if you upgrade to the 99 a month. So it's one of those, hey, if you start to get some subscribers, and you can upgrade, and you get a few more things that you don't get with the hobby plan, as they call it. But I love that we're having this conversation, because as we end the year, right? It's, I don't even like to call them New Year's resolutions. I
Yeah.
don't, because that means by January you stop doing everything.
Absolutely. Not even starting.
But goal setting is, you should have a goal to either build a community or become a part of community to get to maybe that point where you feel like, okay, now I'm ready to have my own community, if that's something you want to do. Because, this is where people are learning and interacting, because it's not about me, it's not about Marco, it's about the community and helping each other, as they like to say, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. I think community can do the same thing for people as well. And so that's I'll get off my soapbox, I guess.
And you were mentioning the fact that about the communities built on Facebook. I think LinkedIn has as well the group feature. I think it was even worse there, because I never thought that will grow, or it worked, lift off. But the thing is, and let me share this idea, because I think it resonates with what happens when we talk about doing communities inside social media platforms. I don't know if you ever had this experience, Tim. I face it, and in two different scenarios, two different contexts, one worked, the other one didn't. And I think it applies to this. When you have a stand-up comedy show, and you know that show will happen, you go there because you want to watch the stand-up comedy show. Your mindset, your flow is kind of aligned with that. You go, you feel that the environment on the room, it's kind of for that. People laugh, people enjoy. And the other thing is, when you go, for instance, to a dinner, or for instance, this time of the year, this happens often as well, when there's these dinners, this Christmas dinner with a company, and they invite a comedian to talk. And you feel that it's not the same because people, they are not there just to watch the the um, the comedian. Okay,
Right.
and the flow is not the same. Some people they laugh, but some they kind of, what is this? And I believe this is what happens on Facebook, for instance, because we know some of the people, they are invited by us to join the group, and they have nothing to do with the topic. They just join on because they are curious or something. And when we move, and this, let me name this the actual just stand up show like Skool or Substack, they know what they will find there. They just join because they are kind of interested in the topic. Also, of course, there are lots of distractions, like in the in the dinner. So some people, they are eating or something there, and we know that on Facebook, for instance, notifications all the time, the chat popping with some last news. Okay, so I think this is what happened. Do you have the same kind of thinking when we compare like Skool and Substack and Facebook, for instance?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And it's funny you mentioned LinkedIn because I think, and I can't remember how many years ago it was. I want to say it was even probably before I got remarried, that LinkedIn got bought by Microsoft. And at the time, and of course, it's funny because in a conversation with Keith Keller and some folks on Substack, this guy's like, he goes, "Well, why did you ever think Microsoft would do anything good?" I was like, "Well, compared to the LinkedIn guys, I was like, I guess I had hope because they had money, but LinkedIn has never fixed groups, and they missed out on a huge, huge opportunity. In fact, every once in a while, I'll go look, and it's like I'm in some of these groups with thousands of people, and if somebody's even posted, like, I don't even think they got a fraction of a percent have commented or liked or anything. So it's like they're all these LinkedIn group ghost towns. And I think as much as just like remember when Facebook pages were great for business, it's kind of the same thing I feel like with Facebook groups is people were building community there, but Facebook changes things based on what they want, not what you as a community builder want. So I think what I see in general is people get comfortable, and it's that resistance to change that we talked about earlier. Is like, well, but there's all these people are on Facebook, but it goes back to my group, your community is not for everybody. It's for specific people. And stop worrying about if you want to call it the law of large numbers, because it's kind of like Pat Flynn says, you just need a few super fans to be successful. And so I think that's to me where, to your point, these other platforms just aren't doing it. And so it creates an opportunity for companies like Skool, Mighty Network, Circle, whatever you want to talk about, to give people a place to go. I think what we run into is you got to give people a compelling enough reason to go try these other platforms. And I think no different than, we're streaming here with StreamYard, which I guess is still going to be called StreamYard. I don't know if it's going to be called
I think it is.
Bending Yard or whatever. But I think, we have people like, oh, well, I don't want to pay for StreamYard or whatever. But reality is, if you don't have meetings of more than 10 people, you could use reusable studios in StreamYard instead of Zoom. So it's like, but we get so caught up in like, oh, well, we've always done it this way, so we're going to continue to do it that way. And I think sometimes we call that the definition of insanity.
Absolutely. And by the way, we have here Karinder. Hello, Karinder. Good to have you here. So he says it's the same like Amazon Live. I think Karinder is mentioning the fact that suddenly Amazon Live dropped like crazy. Those golden years of Amazon Live, they went too fast.
Well, that's an interesting take too. Like part of me, and not to get too far off of what we want to talk about, but it is a good example of where they changed things, but I don't necessarily think they changed it because of the live process. They changed it because they're like, oh wait, we're having to give these creators a lot of money,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
think
that
that's
was the main
was
reason.
more of the reason as
Yeah.
opposed to that, because there's still a lot of people. If you say you go live on Amazon, and we've been doing that for 5 years, right? Um, they're like, what? What's that? And so as large of a company as they are, they still did a horrible job of marketing what Amazon Live, Amazon Influencer Program can do. But you could always create a school community about that if you really wanted to, instead of
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
it on Facebook. Because I know there's a group we've been a part of, but I haven't necessarily participated in a while. That they do a weekly Zoom call, and they could just as easily be doing it in a school community.
Awesome, awesome. By the way, as we were saying, and you gave me the right put the conversation in the right path, because I wanted to ask you, um, why do most of the communities fail? Because this is the, I believe, the $1 million question. But the thing is, I think there's not just one reason, but if you can tell us some of them.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason communities fail is they lose sight of what it's about. And I'll use the term WIFM, what's in it for me. Uh, that is what the person that joins a community comes for. Like, what's in it for me? It's not about what's in it for the creator of the community, right? Sure, you want to have a place where you can maybe bring people in and maybe at some point, monetize some stuff. And in some cases, people want that because, hey, I want to give you my money because I know you're going to give me value. But I think where it fails is people forget what their community was supposed to be about. Are they really being helpful? Are they really engaging, or has it become more of a broadcast channel? It's just, it's it's a in a sense, it's like a social profile under a different name, right? It's not really a community, because a community needs to have resources. It needs to give people things that are going to help them get better at whatever you created the community for. Whatever that, because we got to remember the community is supposed to help solve a problem. And as the people get better at whatever problem you're helping them solve, and they meet, their friends that have the same problem, like, hey, you need to go join Marco's community because he's going to help you overcome whatever that obstacle is the person has. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And then people start to realize, like, it takes time, right? So you can't create a community and then do nothing. And I think, even for me, and I think that's where, like, I even see kind of, as I wrote the article about using Substack and Skool in tandem, because Substack's kind of where you put your content out, and then Skool is kind of where you, like, invite those people over to, like, really get into the deep dive of whatever it is you want to build a community on. And so, I think, going back to your question, the reason communities fail is because the community builder doesn't really have a plan of how he's going to help the community grow, or know, or realize at some point, like, hey, this isn't what I want to do. And so, but I also think from an algorithm standpoint, if the algorithm on these other, community, I wouldn't call them platform, but community groups, doesn't feed the information to us, that we forget about it, right? We need that kind of that gentle reminder, like, hey, Marco just posted something about, XYZ, which is something you're interested in. Oh, I need to go check it out. So, because there's so much noise coming at us, right? And so if the algorithm's not feeding it to you, the next thing it's got to feed it to you is email. And so if you're not reading your emails, that becomes a problem. So I think that's two of the reasons why they die. But I also think that's why what we're doing right now, live video, is so powerful. And one of the reasons that I like Skool is because you can go live inside of Skool. And so now we can have that video interaction with our community. And that's right. That's when you feel like you're really a part of it, you're more likely to stay invested in it.
Absolutely. We know how we love this sense of being alive, and the thing is about live video. One, it's like you feel that closeness thing because sometimes you just think, oh, he's too far away from us, like that creator or that person, that professional. It's way far away from us, and so having him so close or her so close makes a difference. Also, when we can address in first person our questions, our doubts, our anxieties, like I like to say, this makes a difference as well, because it's different when someone kind of I have a question. Some people, some creator, he or she replies like he does a video, and then okay, you have here the video. It's way different. Like okay, my friend, so you have that question, or share your question with me, and also the thing that you have this crowd source, like because a community, it's not just the owner of the community, if you know what I mean. And sometimes there's some other people in the community that faced the same problem, already has the solution. So this makes a whole difference when we think about this. But let me ask you this. We mentioned already Facebook, LinkedIn has community creators, and we have Skool. If What can you tell us about why Skool is a better solution to create a community?
Well, first of all, within Skool itself, so each community that gets built has the ability to have topics, discussion, and that discussion can be written discussion. It can be sharing a link to a video. One of the big things they did before, you had to like use, say, as an example, YouTube as a video source. Well, now they have native video. So not only can I upload a native video to Skool from my desktop or my phone, um, even within their chat feature. Like if you're connected to me and my community, we can have like that, we'll call it, as Jessica Suter, formerly Phillips, would call it, the dark web in a sense, right? Like I can chat with you, I can send you a video, just you, and be like, hey, kind of like I think LinkedIn, and I guess I haven't done it recently. I think LinkedIn did away with video and messages, right? You used to be able to go on there, record a video, and be like, hey, Marco, I hope you're having a great day. Well, I can do that in Skool. So if you can send a video message to your community members, that there's just so much power in seeing a person's face and getting the true context of what they're saying, right? It's that whole thing that I know we talk about with video, and especially live video, is right now if you're watching me and Marco, or even if you're listening to us, but the big difference is when you're seeing us, you're getting all those senses of our passion for what we're talking about. And as I always joke, the only thing you're not getting yet is touch, taste, and feel, and I guess smell. Right? You can't tell if our rooms smell, but
Not
you're
yet.
getting all those other senses, because even with text, even with audio, sometimes things can get taken out of context.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where arguments start. Like, well, that's not, it's like you read it wrong, right? We both read the same sentence, we get a different interpretation, as opposed to if it was read in audio, it's different. And if we see the person and kind of see their body language, that it can even create a different impression. So I think that is part of the things that I like about the community aspect of Skool. Plus, they have in your community, you can have what's called a classroom. So you can create courses that are a combination of, video and written, that people can get, watch on demand, and they can be free, they can be paid. You've got a calendar that you can build out where you can have if you want to call it, schedule events in advance that your community learns about, where maybe you want to use Skool's live streaming feature, which I would say it's similar to Zoom in a way. It's, and I don't know how many more bells and whistles they'll put on it, but you can bring in multiple people. You as the creator can control the cameras and the audio of the people, but you can also create webinars. So if you want to have a session that's just for specific people, you can do that, right? You could invite, because you have another thing about it. It's like a gamification system. They have levels 1 to 7, and these levels you advance by engaging, not just by hitting the like button, by actually making comments, participating. So you might say, okay, if you make it to level 3 in my group, you get a free one-on-one with me. So that's one of the things I think is different that these other platforms don't have. And I think, maybe because I don't know about you, Mario, but I grew up when the Atari 2600 first came out. So I've always kind of liked video games and the challenge. And and I know we both, right, soccer players. It's that whole challenge of sports of wanting to compete and to do better. So like, oh well, if I work at this, I'm going to get rewarded, and maybe that's a mental problem. I don't know, but it's but I think that also kind of lets you know, okay, who are the people in my community that are really engaging? It's kind of like, and I love tying the two together, but it's even like with Substack. We know the people that are engaging with our content because it tells us in our dashboard, right, from no stars to 5 stars. So, right, you can engage and continue to build and feed the people that care, but you can also go back to the people that aren't engaging and say, hey, you joined my community, or you're in my Substack, and I notice you haven't been participating. What can I do to make this more of interest to you? Because the reality is, I don't want to waste your time, just like you don't want to waste mine. So I think we as community creators also have to get over this feeling that our community is for everyone. It's not. Or it may not be the right time for that person. And so I think being willing to have that conversation is important. So it's right. It's even getting that pulse, like, hey, I'm going to put a poll out. What would you like to see more of? Right. Or, once a week, we're going to have a coffee chat. It's a video, live video, but you can save it and post it for people to catch up on. Cause maybe just like this live stream, we'll probably get more views in replay because this time isn't perfect for everybody. It was perfect for Marco and me. So I think this whole, because I think that's the algorithm disease creates this, well, when's the best time to post? When's the best time to go live? To me, it doesn't matter. It's when you are willing to do it. It's when your audience is willing to participate, because, we all have, life goes on. And everybody's not going to set everything aside just for that moment in time, unless it's something important. But I also think the whole thing with the communities, they can go back and get that information after the fact, and you can organize it. That's the problem with these other platforms, is they make it very hard to organize your content in a meaningful way that allows your, if you want to call them community fans, whatever you want to call them, to find the stuff they're looking for. It's like, I know Marco did a video on this thing, but I don't know where it is. But I don't want to bug Marco. Right? Right? Because that's sometimes they feel like, oh, you're so busy. Or there's a time zone difference or whatever. So if like, okay, I go into Skool and I go to the tab called live streaming, and there's all the posts on live streaming. Or, they can just send you a message. Hey, and you say, oh, it's here. Right. So I think that's part of where building community can be so helpful for people. And I saw our friend Tim Sohn,
Yeah,
jumped on
Tim.
for a minute.
Hello.
I mean, for what Tim does with the cancer community, I think creating a school for his community would be a tremendous thing because, one, now they don't have to worry about Facebook or LinkedIn or whoever's like, oh, your content doesn't meet community standards or you violated some community thing. Because sometimes I have seen things like that happen to people and it makes no sense. So I will say one of the things I like about Skool, because it's your community, Marco, not theirs. They don't sit there and say, hey, this music you're playing belongs to, I mean, not to say, I get the whole licensing thing, but it's a private community. It's not like it's being shared out on the internet. So it kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility and freedom to explore, because what happens is I think people, as an example, go on YouTube. There's been a couple lawsuits where it's called, and Chris Stone told me, it's like, it's like this common creative, like you'll see all these people like, oh, let's watch this clip where someone's saying XYZ, or let's play this clip from the news. And you're just commenting on it. You're not actually like trying to monetize. I mean, you're monetizing in a way, but say if you did that inside of your Skool community, they're not going to say, oh, you can't play that video, or oh, you can't play that song. So I think that's a huge difference as opposed to your content getting taken down for those sort of reasons when it's on a public-facing platform like Facebook or YouTube. So I think, to me, that's a huge difference, and the ability, in a sense, to have that freedom of speech. You truly have it inside of your Skool community.
Absolutely. Sorry. And the other thing is sometimes the moderation, mainly on Facebook, it's a little bit crazy, and they do kind of randomly or so nonsense. But the other thing that we are I think this could be a shift. You can share your thoughts on this, because I think this was started to change. I don't know, maybe not a little bit ago, but I believe this will happen. It's still happening, and that we are changing from content volume paradigm to meaningful, contextualized content.
Yes, 100%. And I think for me, that's why I like, like I said, I see people. It's funny, right? I see people now a lot, and I'm gonna say all the time, that start complaining like, I'm really getting tired of, an example, of Facebook, because I'm just getting all these ads and I'm getting all this stuff at my feed. And it's like, well, then get off of Facebook, right? go. And I spend more of my time on a place like Substack, because I can follow the people I want to follow, like you, and I can see your content. And then if I know you have a community on Skool, I can join it and I can see what the community is talking about if it's a topic that interests me. And so if I just spend my time there, it's like it's more tailored. One, I'm not getting bombarded with ads and other, stuff that I don't care about. But I also, and maybe it's because we're older, Marco. Yes, I like to create content, but I also don't want to get trapped into this rabbit hole of, I got to create all these 30-second videos and put them on TikTok and put them on Instagram and get all these people to watch it. And, and then all of a sudden, and in 5 weeks, I'll be a millionaire. And that doesn't work, right? It works for some people. Works for some people, but it's not going to work for me or Marco, because we're not the target audience that people are looking for. So I think you're right. I think that's where people are like, where do I want to spend my, if you want to call it even downtime, right? Okay, let me read stuff that's more in line with what I want to, or watch that's more in line with me, right? YouTube is becoming huge from the perspective of how much time people spend watching stuff. I mean, they have YouTube TV for that matter, right? They and for us in the US, that's where they move the NFL games. You can watch all the NFL games on YouTube if you subscribe for money, right? Not free. And but I think so that becomes so now I can take a YouTube video as an example that maybe some smart person did that really brings a point across of some things I think are important, and I can share it in my community, and I can say, "Hey, check out this video. This is why you want to watch it." They can go watch it. That person's getting, views and watch hours and whatever else, but it's inside of my community. And I can say, "You know what? I don't like this video. I'm gonna get rid of it." I mean, so it's that whole thing that now we can have a conversation around this video inside of our community, right? So it's almost like we're sharing the living room TV, like, "Hey, watch this and let me know what you think, or let me know what your questions are." And so like Madeline in her school community does a great job with that. She finds these videos on some of the things happening as an example in the world of AI, and it's been very enlightening to me. Or people will ask a question like, "Hey, have you tried some of the new," I mean, it's funny, right? They're all Chrome based browsers, but whether it's Atlas or whether it's the new one by Perplexity, or Manus, which Facebook just, I guess, bought or merged with. There's all these different things that can help you move forward, not just in content creation, but in your working journey. And I think so, but then it's like, well, how do you explain it to people? Well, you don't always have time to get on a Zoom call. So now create a video or go live in your community, and then people can, because then if someone says, "Hey, I wanted to learn more about, whatever the thing might be." Well, hey, I've got this class over in my school where I walked through, I did a series of videos about how to do this. And they can just go there and watch it and learn. And then they're like, wow, this really helped me. I'm going to stay a part of this, or I'm going to tell my friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on and so on, right? That old shampoo commercial. Because that's still how people grow things, is through referrals, right? I'm going to refer people to Marco when they want to, if they need help with live streaming. If I can't do it, he's someone I trust. Why? Because I've seen his body of work. And I think that's where these communities, you're showing your body of work, you're showing people what you're capable of, or people say, "Hey, how did you do that?" And when you start to see that, you're like, you know what, that's something I need to create content about. Not to try to go viral, but to help people in whatever it is you feel people need help in. Like for me, it's helping people be authentic with video in the tools, right? There's so many things happening. I don't know how much you're doing with it, Marco, but even as an example, technology is advancing to a point that it makes it very easy for us to literally, even with just our phone, go live anywhere. Or even if we don't go live, I tell people, you can still record it. You can still record it with good audio, then download it, upload it, right? It doesn't always have to be live, but don't make the excuse of like, well, I don't have a good signal, right? Because I think that's what we used to do. I don't have a good signal, so I can't record this. No, just talk to what you're seeing and just realize that just like with this video, people are going to watch it later. They're going to maybe ask questions later. We can come back later and answer those questions. So I think that's, goes back to, well, where do I put this stuff? Putting it on your feed in social media, it's going to disappear because it's that whole, the timeline, things get older and older. And unless it got a lot of likes and follows and comments in the first 24 hours, nobody will even know that it happened. And I can give you some funny examples of how, even for me with some reels, I did one reel, it kind of blew up, which led to people watching a reel that was 4 months old that blew up, but I didn't know that was going to happen. So I think if you want things to be predictable, and I don't mean predictable in a viral way, where can you put your stuff that you think is important to share and to add value to the people you want to help? And that's where I think communities like Skool really can make that difference. Because I, in fact, that's one of my goals for 2026, and I'm not going to say my resolutions, is kind of going back out to some people I've talked to before and say, look, we talked about this a while back. but what have you done to fix your Facebook group program? Here's my, suggestion of how you can move forward and how I can help them get started in getting, because it's I think there is this resistance to change, right? Because it was so easy when it first started to set up a Facebook group. Well, it's not that hard to set up a Skool group. It's just a matter of, because I think, and let me know what you think of this, Marco. The reality is, people always say like, "Oh, well, I have all these people that are in my group, and I don't know if they'll move." Well, if they're not willing to move, do they really care? Right? I think
Absolutely.
I think that's the question we have to get over is this
Yeah.
whole, "Well, I have 10,000 people in my Facebook group, and to get them all to move over there." Well, if they're not willing to move and you tell them you're going over here and they don't wanna follow you, then they really weren't a part of your community.
Absolutely.
Because if they're a real part of your community, they'll follow you anywhere. And I think
Yep.
that's what we have to think about.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they are not moving physically, okay? They don't need to leave the country. It's on the cell phone. So the thing is, that's the thing, because we think, oh, Facebook, whatever, and why you don't want to move, because there are more tools. And I was, while you were thinking, I was thinking about the engagement, and I was thinking about the difference between engaging on social media and, for instance, on these community platforms. And the thing is, there's few incentives for us, on average, of course, to engage on social media. Why should we? But in the opposite way, on these kind of platforms, as you said, we have rankings or something like that. And the other thing is, I'm in this community to help solve my problems. This is the person or the right community to solve them. So I need to take this step, like, so people can know my problems. Otherwise, if they are not aware of my problems, they won't be able to solve them. As easy as that. Your thoughts on this, and if you can mention some tools that people can, because we come as well. I think we are finally shifting the paradigm about engagement, changing into something vain, about vanity, and turn it into something useful and
Yeah,
meaningful as well.
I think in our friend Judy Fox has talked about this for years, even with LinkedIn, is because people get into or feel this pressure of like, oh, I've got to post all the time, I've got to create content all the time. When the reality is, you'll see someone ask a question. Well, if you know something about it, make a comment on it. Don't just give it the thumbs up or whatever. And so, true engagement, where you're looking to help people, is much more powerful than creating a piece of content, in my opinion, in the long run. Right, in the long run, if people know that you're going to engage with them, they're more likely to engage back, because you'll see, and Chris and I have seen this. You got these people in the speaking industry, and maybe it's because they speak at people. I'll be like, well, I post all this stuff, but nobody ever comments on my stuff. And if you ask them the question, well, do you ever comment on their stuff? Well, I don't have time for that. Well, you just answered your own question. You don't have time for them. Why should I have time for you? And so I think that is another one of those big shift of, people, right? We want to do business with people we know, like, and trust. And that's where building a community where you really get people to know, right? Even that first thing is like, well, I know you and I like you. Now I trust you enough, Marco. I'm going to invite you to my community because I feel like you would be a good part of my community, right? And then it becomes our community because you're a part of it. But if you're not, why would I bring you in there, right? Why would I want to bring negative energy into that space? And I think that is one of the reasons that I mean, and I think that's part of the problem with social media, especially in the United States right now, is there's just so much of this, we've allowed politics to overtake uh, our conversations. It becomes a part of everything, as opposed to like, look, why can't we just respect our differences and want to make the world a better place, as opposed to, you know, you're you're a winner, that person's a loser, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's where I think there's a much larger part than the media portrays that wants that. They don't like seeing this divisiveness that's what and because that's what feeds social media, right? Like, oh, look, this person said this comment and it blew up, but it's like they're just they're not necessarily solving anything. They're just expressing some sort of, viewpoint that, and of course, right, the people that support that viewpoint see it more than the people that don't, because that's how the algorithm works. So in the community, it's a topic, it's problem solving. And I think social media is not built around problem solving. It's built around likes and comments and shares and then people running ads is how they make their money.
Absolutely. And the thing is, here we have the same problem. This polarization. You are black or you are white, or you are good or you are bad, depending on the side of the fence you are. But this is replicated to everything, like sports, as you know, football or soccer. It's a huge thing here. So if you are a supporter from a given team, the others, they are the enemies. They are always wrong, you are always right. And this is getting, I think this is getting a huge problem, this kind of polarization. And as you said, the media, the main media has their guilts here, but also the social media platforms, because we know how some algorithms work and how they like this kind of how can I say, approach, perspective,
Right.
or way of using. But let's go back to the good things, because and there's we mentioned already the volume, the content volume thing. And I think I want to get back to this topic, because I believe it's a really important topic, because we know as well that not so many time ago, we had this thing that kind of floating all the platforms, and no matter what, with content, like, I want to put a lot of content so they have everything they need and whatever. And the thing is, most of the times people will leave because I don't have time to consume all this content. Your thoughts on this, Jim? How do you manage the content that you are providing to your community?
I think ideally, I think if you can put out, I think you have to set a goal, whatever that goal works for you. Maybe it's, once a month, maybe it's twice a month, maybe it's once a week, of creating meaningful content. There's something you've actually thought out, planned, put out. But engagement can be daily. Engagement can be, and I learned this from my friend Vincent Puglisi, reach out to 3 people each day, 3 different people. Just, hey, how's it going? Hey, I saw this article, it reminded me of something that you're really interested in. It's not about what's in it for me. It's just, I just want to keep our conversation going, because, if you've got thousands of, people connected to you on these different platforms, it's hard to keep up with everybody. So maybe create that list of, these are the people that I really want to build that relationship with. So here's a way I can do it by just engaging, right? And then every once in a while, when you create this content, because you're engaging with them, they're more likely to see that new content. Or you say, hey, I started this new thing. If you're interested, here's a link to check it out. That's it, right? No harm, no foul if they don't. And maybe it goes back to that earlier conversation we had was it's something they're interested in. They're just not ready for it right now. And, because that kind of goes back to the whole, uh, call it the care circle that Jessica Suter talks about. You don't know where they are in the journey, right? Maybe they're just starting to think about, as an example, video. Maybe they're ready to pull the trigger on video, but where did you hit them in that cycle? And so that, I think, is why it's important to kind of continue to have those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that we this kind of goes to something that some people they they mention, like, should I repost something on social media? I already posted this. And the thing is, there's always new people coming, people leaving. And the thing is, sometimes we don't. And I was doing a training session a couple of weeks ago. Now we are in holidays or vacation, and I asked some people, "Did you saw outdoors on the road while you were traveling to here?" And they said yes. And I've asked, "Can you mention the brands that were advertising?" And most of them couldn't do it. And the thing is, because they were not relevant. And this is something that it's really important when we are talking about marketing. I think it's about everything. But the thing is, sometimes we think that people are seeking for that and they are starving for our information. But the thing is by that moment, it's not relevant. So this is something. And this is a nice bridge for the next question, which is, when we have a community, it's way easier, I believe, to find this relevancy, because people are there. They are here. They are also starving to share, because this is something that we should understand as well when we are in a community. Some people, I wouldn't say most, because I don't have statistical numbers, but the thing is, and I believe you are on the same stage as I am, on the same page, like, even though we are not the community owner, we like also to contribute, also to give our perspective, because we like to be seen as wise people, as smart people.
Right.
How do you think that the community, let me okay, the community owner, and people will understand as they want, should also bring people to create this context, to relevancy, and also to kind of motivate people also to, instead of it just readers, to be also providers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a good reason to do that. I know I'm in. Liz Wilcox has a community for email marketing, and she invites experts in all the time to talk to the community about topics in marketing that aren't necessarily about email. So I think it's that kind of that same thing as, like, invite that person into your community. It's no different than live streaming, right? Your audience is learning about them, their audience is learning about you. So I think that applies, and don't be afraid. Don't feel like, oh, well, I can be the only one that speaks from the pulpit.
Absolutely, because I think, and I made a on my podcast in Portuguese, I made a episode. Well, I made a series of episodes, because I want to cover the invite people, bringing guests, the different perspectives, why you should, how you should behave, how you should spot a good guest. And one of the reasons was actually that you don't know everything, and even though you know everything, which you don't, of course, but bringing someone with a different perspective, with different experience, is always a good and a wise move, even for your community as well. And to finish with the last question, if okay, I don't like that question, that one secret, one thing, because For me, it's always too short. So I like the three. If you want to share three pieces of advice for people to create a Skool community and to succeed, which which three will you pick?
So I would say, well, first of all, there's a free Skool course ran by this gentleman, and let me give you his name. It's Max Perzon, and he's made millions through his communities. And so he's offering a free Skool course that kind of helps you figure out what should my community be about. I would say two, make sure you're creating a community about something that you care about and are passionate about, not because you think it's going to make you money. Because if you do something because you think it's going to make you money and you don't really care about it, it's going to show. And I think three, don't be afraid to start, right? Don't keep putting it off because you think, oh, well, I'll get around to it, because you won't get around to it. And so I think sometimes by starting it, that makes, that momentum starts and it makes you keep going, especially when you start to have people join and you're like, oh gosh, now people are joining. I need to keep doing stuff or they're going to go away and my community's going to die. So I think those are the three things that I would say. And even just by going to school, and I, whether you want to even just, be a lurker at first, you will see there are communities on everything. Pickleball. I'm sure there's soccer communities out there. Well, I know there's soccer communities out there, and some of them might be talking about the soccer games. Don't think that community always has to be about teaching. It can just be about, hey, this is where we all hang out to talk about XYZ. And so I might have to start some other communities just about some of this.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's an amazing point. Sometimes it's just, and the thing is, if we build a community to help others, doesn't mean that I should be the only helping provider, as you said. And for instance, you can get, for instance, Camino de Santiago. I made it 3 times, and I know that some people, they made it way more times than I did. So building a community around it should be for sure a nice. And as I said, I'm not a guru of the Camino, but the thing is, bringing people together and sharing about this experience and perspectives would be a pretty nice way to build a community around the Camino. And I think
and that's on my list. That's on my list of things to do. And then when I've seen that you've done it, I'm like, oh, now he's putting more pressure on me because he does it like it's nothing.
Well, it's a pretty nice experience, even though there's, again, lots of discussions like by these days, because some people, they want to do it in a way, some they want to do it in an opposite way, and so there's a struggle. You should do it this way. No, we should do however I want to do, though. So there's always this struggle. So, Jim, we came to an end, but you need to tell people where they can find. By the way, this will become a blog article, so you can find on Substack. By the way, you can find the links. You can find the Jim's community on Skool, Substack, whatever. So by the end, feel free to go to the video description and or Substack article to find everything.
Yeah, I would say, so if you want to connect with me, I would say my favorite place to hang out now is Substack. And then if you become a subscriber to my Substack, free or paid, you'll get an email. Well, you get an email when you subscribe to someone's Substack. But in that, I have a link if you're interested to join my Skool community. But I'm also on LinkedIn and YouTube. And I'm on those. But see that, but like, where do I hang out? I would say it's Substack, Skool, YouTube, LinkedIn, probably in that order. Because even with LinkedIn, and I don't know if you feel the same way, they're making some changes that sometimes I'm just like, what am I chasing by being there? It's a B2B community, but I don't like the idea of that whole like, oh, I've got to create content in order to, be relevant. So if I do anything, I'll post stuff on LinkedIn to try to get people to come over to Substack.
Yep. Same here. So, Jim, by the way, I know you mentioned that you didn't want to achieve goals, or you don't have these New Year's resolutions, but nothing. Well, let's think that we are August. So we are in August. It's summer. Do you have any goals on your mind?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely do goals. I just don't do resolutions because goals are continuous. But I have a goal. I actually have a draft already by this summer. That's a great point. Maybe even earlier. I will have a mini book out about Substack video, and how to use it.
By the way, I saw the article that you shared. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago about video. And let me say this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I will do it the same in Portuguese. But I will mention you. You.
No, I'm fine with that.
Because it was really an insightful article. So, and the thing is, video on Substack, it's something huge, and all the tools that they give us to use video. So
they keep improving
this
it.
guy, it's wise. I'm gonna do something like this in Portuguese.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, there's as like I always say, Marco, there's plenty to go around for all of us, right? So I'm flattered that I appreciate the fact that you thought it was good and that you would do something similar. I have no issues with that. Now
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My pleasure. So, thank you this way, Jim, for being here. Thank you also to all of you that watched us today. Wish you all an amazing new year, filled with everything till the top, to the edge,
and the World Cup.
Yeah. Oh my God. I wish. With that trainer, maybe difficult. The coach. But let's be positive. Thank you so much. So, as I said, you will have all the links, everything you need in the video description, in the blog article on Substack. But if you are watching this on other platforms, I believe that you have the link to go to Substack as well. Thank you so much. Wish you all an amazing year. Jim, we will see soon, I believe.
Yes.
Even virtually, but it works as well. So enjoy. Thank you so much for being there. And now I have something to share with you. Okay, let's play this.
And that's all, folks.
Bye-bye. See you.